walk through our amazing group of panelists here. I know some of you, not all of you, but most of you. I've literally never met you, and you're the only one.
What's up?
Hi, good to meet you. All of you, I've seen you. We are going to talk through some questions together and process through some things they've overcome, they've learned, they've taken away from the last year in business. This group was hand-selected by Luke for a very significant, so that there is a significant variance in what they do, how it works, how they operate, and because their businesses are working really well, and things are going very well for them. So it's a group that we can all learn from. So if you have your pen and paper, grab it out. I will leave a couple minutes at the end for questions for the panel. So if you're like, hey, I also run a bakery on Balboa Island. Just kidding, you don't, okay? But if you're like, hey, I have a question about this thing, what was that like for you? I'd love to hear more. We'll save a couple minutes for questions. Does that feel good? All right, we are gonna get started. There's mics here. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna be like a little at the kids' table at Thanksgiving. So I'll be right over here. I would love for you to just start. If you can grab your mics, we'll start here and introduce yourself. Ready? This is a lot of words. This is Luke's fault. Company, industry, revenue stage, if you're comfortable sharing, and one word for where you are right now.
My name is Patrick Mullen.
So far, great job.
Yeah. Company's PJM scheduling services, so provide scheduling and planning for large construction projects. Revenue stage in the 500,000 range. A couple of independent contractors that work for me, no employees except my wife, so she's great. And what else do you want to know about me?
One word for where you are.
I just say growing.
You know, you're at the right place. Great. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, thanks, Pat.
Hi, I'm Janice Harris, and I own Art and Soul Art Studios. I have 2 brick and mortar shops, one in Newport, one in Huntington Beach, and I also have an in-school art program in 15 Orange County schools. And I am in the creative industry. Obviously, I'm at that 500,000 mark as well. And my word for my company right now is learning.
My name is David Sabo. I'm in the manufacturing industry, co-founder of EMS, aerospace CNC machining, in transition to exiting EMS and starting a new platform. Aside from EMS, we just broke a 3-year revenue plateau from going from 7 million, and we did 9.2 million in 2025.
Awesome.
The word would be transition.
Cool.
In a state of transition.
Hi, my name is Maddie Van Wyman. I am the co-owner and pastry chef at Balboa Island Baking Company, which is a brick and mortar bakery in Newport Beach. We are in the 400,000 range, and my word for right now, which has never been said before in my business, is stable.
My name is Andrew Maristain. I'm the owner and founder of Veritas Search Group. We're in the recruiting space, largely within technology and executive search. We just did over 3 million, and we're on track to 4.5 to 5 million this year, which is great. One word would be chaos. If I got a second word, I'd say productive chaos.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Your first question is, what decision changed your business more than you expected? What decision changed your business more than you expected? I'm not going to go in a line. That's not going to be the vibe. So just grab a mic and then say words.
For me, there's been a stigma as I've been doing scheduling consulting for about 10 years now. And I think the idea that in order to be a successful business, you have to have W-2 employees. You can't, like if you hire independent contractors, they're just like, I built it up in my head like, well, that's not a business. You're just, relying on other people who have their businesses. But I think as I'm starting to realize, like, no, who cares if they're W-2 or 1099s? Like, growth is growth, and you can have culture around 1099s and not be afraid of that.
That's so good. How many other people in the room have felt similar to that or have experienced some of that? That's great. I know I can speak for myself to say that that's so true, that we often make up the story of what success looks like outside of a number, right, or revenue, and that when we can kind of bump up against those things, it teaches us more and more.
I actually learned it in my reading group, so no plug for that, but just to pick up the phone, I found myself I like to be prepared, and so if someone's calling me, I'm like, well, who is this person, especially in the beginning stages. And I found just putting in my mind from 9 to 5 or whatever time block it was, to just answer the call. And, make the connection, and that has grown me so much as a person. Just, you never know who's on the other end and what they want from you, and so I'd rather just avoid, but that really helps me just to pick up the phone and have the conversation, even if it's awkward or weird or I don't know who it is.
That's great, and I know as founders, our availability gets less and less and less, which also creates tension to not have serendipitous interactions, right? To really create those connections.
When we bought the bakery, I owned it with my dad. We had no entrepreneurial background. I just loved to bake and I had a dream. So for me, the best thing that we did was create a vision and mission statement and put direction to the business. We had a lot of ideas, a lot of charming ideas that, were kind of non-descript. It was just ideas that floated and we hoped we could execute them. So to put words to those ideas, it gave the business a direction to move in, and it helped us in how we created the team. And it's really been a huge game changer for us.
That's great, thanks.
For us, operational leadership. We brought on a operations manager about 2 years, and it just totally changed the game. Kind of one of the points of breaking that revenue plateau, and just being able to, you're the owner, you're taking care of everything, to handing off a lot of those operational duties that you can focus on the growth of the business. So that was a key pivotal point in the business for that growth.
I took this in a different direction. For me, the decision is realizing as the leader in whatever capacity that is, but how much of the business picks up my idiosyncrasies or my flaws or my strengths or my communication style or my cadence. And the decision was probably just owning the fact that the things that I don't like in my business are just derivative variables of myself that I don't like about myself, and the things that I like are just reflections of that. And so it's been impactful to sort of own my traits and own my flaws and try to work on those as best as I can. And then when I see that in someone else, realize they're just repeating, even if it's down to dress code, but no matter, we set the tone as the leaders, and we can't say, do as I say, not as I do.
But isn't that a bummer?
Such a bummer.
I know, I like to tell my kids, I'm like, you guys do better, I don't wanna, and it doesn't work like that, and it's so true. I think entrepreneurship is such a mirror for all of us, and it's crazy how our shadow sides are amplified as big as our company gets. So how we manage that, I think, is connected to that flywheel. All right, next question. What did you stop doing that mattered most? What did you stop doing that mattered most? Yeah.
So my background is in sales for my industry, so I'm customer facing and I'm cold calling, and I'm very comfortable with being on the phone and the rejection and all that. But I created a decade of pattern recognition on how to win someone over quickly and to try to communicate myself or high agreeableness, a big 5 personality trait, and then stepping into running my own thing over the last couple years. Those traits, although can be good for growing revenue and attracting people to come work for you, when it comes to the difficult conversations with my employees, my agreeableness was a huge thorn in my side. So learning to be more disagreeable and learning to be more uncomfortable with conversations that lead with both parties being frustrated or unhappy or whatever. And that was, I do not have it figured out, but any progress on that variable has grown my business almost direct correlation.
Wow, that's great, thanks.
What I stopped doing was hiring for competency and started hiring for culture. That's something that Rita taught me, and in my industry, you want someone who knows how to do the job and do it well and execute product, but what I realized is actually hiring for culture fit is such a huge piece of our business that if the team is not cohesive, the business wouldn't succeed. And so starting to look to hire for culture and to define what we want the culture of our business to be made a huge impact, and that meant losing some employees that didn't fit culture. in order to establish a stronger culture. And it has been one of the most impactful things that we stopped doing and started doing for the bakery.
I think that's so huge. How many of you have dealt with that in the room? Right? We're like, oh, I want to hire someone. Look at all the boxes they check and the letters after their name. And you're like, but they bum me out. And how you can move through those things is really hard. And that's the brave, as founders, that's the hardest thing is no one's telling you, don't hire them. Everyone else is like, they're good. But when the culture doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So that's so great. Who else?
I have two. My first one is I scrubbed the toilets in my art studios for about 2 years after owning it myself. So I literally would go in and clean my art studios myself instead of hiring cleaners. So I do not do that anymore. I have cleaners, they come in and they, and that ties to wanting to do everything and wanting to be good at everything. And so, can you do this, Denise? Yeah, I can figure that out, and I go home and I'm like, okay, how do I figure this out in 2 minutes instead of just asking for help? So I'm a big, I don't say yes to everything anymore, and I definitely used to, and I don't say that I can do something if deep down I know that I actually can't, then I'm going to want to get out of it later. So just that quick no right at the beginning.
Yeah, I think being a control freak, I would always do the work myself, and I was never great at delegating and empowering other people to be the client facing. I would always kind of micromanage the clients and kind of be the middleman between the work product getting done and having a relationship with the client. So I'm trying to empower people, underneath me to, hey, you go be the client-facing person. And honestly, it's been biggest relief because then you see them flourishing, and I think more growth comes from that. I just realized I can't grow a company if I'm doing all the work. And as I've allowed other people to, do the client relationships and stuff like that, I've seen more growth from that.
And Pat and I are in the same arena group, Chapter 9. What up? And we've had so many similar problems in that sense, even though our businesses have 0 things in the middle of their Venn diagram, right? He does construction, scheduling, and I do corporate consulting and communications. And one of the things we've both talked about is when you have to make the decision to spend money on your business versus take it home. And, we were like, well, I could hire someone or I could install a pool. And you have to have that thought in your brain and how, oh wait, you need to actually do the work, right? To grow your team and build that so that the revenue can flow as well. So I think that's something a lot of us have dealt with as well.
I'll echo some of what you guys are saying is the micromanagement, and to the point of then shifting the expectation and setting clear expectations and the accountability to the expectation helps a lot in that delegation of handing off those tasks and not trying to micromanage and take over their job that you guys have to do.
That's great, and that requires such a huge feedback loop, right? Because everyone requires a different level of expectation and accountability. So that takes such a high level of leadership for you to know, oh, you need this incredibly long list, and you need a very short one, and how you manage that's huge. Anyone else? I think everyone went. Awesome, next question. What hire or team change unlocked your next stage? Pretend I'm not doing this, I just need to look at the time in my phone. Just look away. Okay. What hire did you make that unlocked the next stage in your business?
Yeah, it was actually pretty recently, somebody approached me and they're an independent consultant with a couple guys underneath them. And I've always trained people directly underneath me. I've never had a senior level person come in and be able to do the work. And so when he approached me and said, hey, and he's a senior level guy and has some guys underneath him, he's like, let's partner together. And just having somebody who's competent, who's senior level, because I've always kind of been as a solo entrepreneur doing the work. And then to have an equal come in as a senior level person, I'm like, oh my gosh, my life so much easier. So that was great. Yeah, great team.
That's great.
Mine is a full-time assistant, and that took me a long time to get that, but she is the most wonderful, helpful person in my business. I feel like all my teachers can come and go, and I love them so much, but she does pretty much everything for me now. And that took, I've been doing this for about 10 years, and that was about, after 5 years, I hired a full-time assistant.
That's great. And as Luke says, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. So I agree with that. That's so helpful. And shout out to everyone in the room who has helped with this event. Can we just give a quick shout out? Every single person in the back, all of these incredible people making the world go round.
I spoke about this already, but my operations manager / number 2, I remember the 3 to 4 months in, I went on vacation, and it was the first vacation in probably, 12, 13 years where I actually enjoyed the time with my family and could trust that what was happening in the business was, under control and doing well. So, yeah, that's definitely a key hire and change.
That's great. How many of you, that's one of your goals? You can leave and then things are fine. Yes, great.
I have 2 that really stand out. First would be our social media manager. She's table 10. You should talk to her.
Woo-hoo!
Not only did taking social media off my plate free me up to do a lot of other things that I'm way better at with social media. She took us from hovering around 1,200 followers to over 9,000 followers in a little over a year. She's crushing it, and she's just helping us build the business from a social media standpoint, which for food and beverage is now a huge way to market, and that has been amazing. Also, we decided to hire on a new baker. So now there's a team of 3 bakers, which again has taken a huge load off of me, being there every morning, crack of dawn, doing the groundwork of the business, to be able to step back and do a little bit more of the oversight of the business, and that has been incredible.
That's great. Thanks so much.
For me, there's probably one critical hire that was, I don't necessarily recommend it for everyone, and I've heard the only ships that sink are partnerships. Is I brought in a really good friend who I actually wanted to go 50-50 with. He wasn't ready, and so it worked out in my favor when he did kind of reapproach me. He was starting a family, so wanted to be a part of something where he had some skin in the game. He's my operator. I didn't know that's what he was until I started going to these things, and people describe that there's things like EOS and operators and stuff. But it allows me to do my best in high seas, which is, lead the team and bring in revenue, and he handles all of my operations. But I would say our growth and our scale comes from deciding to bring him on, and implicitly trusting him with running those things that I don't enjoy. And then 100% the quality of my life. I would tell a story, there was one night early on when I was by myself, where I stayed up all night working on a CISO search or something, and it was around Thanksgiving, or not the Thanksgiving table, and my brother's in town just working on these searches. And then by bringing him in, it's just my family's been on more vacations than ever in our life, and the quality of life, and being able to do stuff with a small army of kids that I have. So even if I could have been keeping all of that money or that share of an earned equity, it's been hands down the best hire so far. But that's for me.
Yeah, that's great. I know for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, the things in the beginning that are fun, let me figure out this problem, I'll stay up late doing it. After 10 years, you're I never need to do that again, And I feel in the beginning of my work, I travel a lot. I was wow, I get to go to Orlando, And I was this is neat. And now I'm if I see another Hyatt key card, in the next month, I just want to check into my house, right? That's the only place I'm trying to check into. So it really does change over time. What you need for who to do what is such a big piece of it. As I ask them the last question, I want you all to be thinking, what questions do I have for them? All right? So I want you to be thinking right now, if I could ask this panel one question, or one person on this panel one question about my issues, what would they be? Locked? All right. Your last question is, what is something you're still actively trying to figure out? What is something right now you are still actively trying to figure out?
Is it just how to grow revenue?
Right place, right time.
Yeah. I've been at a plateau for a really long time. Luke's known me for a long time, and before Reno, we would be talking about our businesses, and he's why hasn't your business grown? It's been 10 years. Why is this? And so I think just continue to delegate and have vision, when you were talking about vision, and just being able to see the future and know where my business is going. I think, yeah, just having more compelling vision. Yeah, the drive to the destination that I'm taking the business. Like, man, I get so scatterbrained, and the people underneath me, they often have to define the vision, or it's like, hey, do you know where you're taking us?
Yeah.
And so I think just being focused on where I'm taking the business, I need to define that better.
That's great.
I'm very much in the moment. I'm kind of thinking about like just this exact moment and nothing more, which is nice to be present, but I am trying to figure out my plan for the next 10 years, what my business looks like, where I actually want to be myself personally, with my kids and my family, and all of those details. So that's kind of what's on my mind, and something that's not natural for me is to plan for the future. I like to live in the moment, and so, yeah, the future plans.
That's great.
For me, I recently acquired another business outside of EMS and looking to acquire more businesses and growing my next platform through acquiring businesses. And one of the things I'm finding is changing the culture that has been stuck with the company for decades. And figuring out how to break it and change the culture. So I'm finding that with the current business I bought, and I know from what I've learned, it's probably going to flow into other businesses. So that's what I'm probably the most thinking about in terms of that.
How many of you are leading a company or a culture you did not build? How many of you have acquired, right, an organization, or maybe it's familial, right? I think that's a really common issue too, is now I have to hop on a ship and figure out, is this a cruise ship? Is this a Navy ship? Where are we going? What's the plan here? And that's really tricky.
Mine is similar to Denise. I think I'm newly married and hoping to start a family, and my business is growing, and so I'm really trying to figure out how do I maximize this momentum that we have right now, but also trying to, create a family life and find balance there. So I'm grateful to be in this room with other ladies specifically that have families and are crushing their businesses, and I'm looking to learn from other people who are doing that and figure out what fits for my life in the next few years as hopefully my family grows. So yeah.
That's great, thanks.
My gut response to this question was sort of like everything, which I don't think is helpful. But I think it's telling in the sense of like I don't know, I think that in your personal and professional life, you kind of put things on the altar and you kind of sacrifice them for other things, if that makes sense. And I feel like the things that I'm struggling with are things that I put at the altar of making sure I could go from a W-2 to being a business owner. And now it's like a real thing, and it's growing and it's great. There's been like a bunch of sacrificial lambs like lined up that I now need to tend to, would be the metaphor in my head or the analogy. So like cash flow, ownership of finances. We did do a small acquisition of another company this year, so now I've got like these people that I'm like, they're not the Veritas tell the truth vibe, Like how do I fire them for that? I don't know. And then, just all kinds of things. And so at the altar of sort of growing revenue to provide for my family and I in this transition, I'm now having to kind of clean up the bodies on the other side.
Yeah, that's great. Has anyone ever felt something similar to that? Yeah, that's great. All right, I already see your micro hands, and I'm into it. Who has a question they'd like to ask me? Yeah. First of all, will you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Ange.
And your business.
It's called Catching Made Simple. We help basically a bunch of baseball and softball catchers from around the country, around the world get better at catching.
Cool.
It's your number one catcher.
That's great.
So, sounds like a big thing for a lot of you guys has been hiring. And I'm curious, what is one big mistake that you made that you could help us avoid? And what is one big tip that you would have as we're looking to hire? Specifically client facing, if you have that. If not, then just as you're onboarding.
That's great. So what is a big mistake you've made that we need to learn on sale? And then what is a tip you have?
We bought a bakery that was pre-existing, and part of our hiring process at the start was just to take as many of the current employees that were already there and put them onto our team. And part of that was that there were some clear benefits. And in order to keep the peace and, kind of appease the current, clients and the previous owners, we kept people on that I knew from the get-go were not a good fit. And I kept them for way too long, 2.5, 3 years. And they caused a lot of chaos in my business. But because I wanted to just appease everybody, I didn't do the hard thing of firing. And so about a year ago, we let this person go, and it has been the biggest thing we could have done for the business. The complete culture shifted. My excitement for the business shifted. My other employees, their fire to be in part of the business shifted. So I would say just learn from my mistake of being a peacekeeper and cut the bad culture fits early, or just don't hire that in the first place. Probably be good, but hiring for us now, as far as things like tips that I have, I'm still learning, so I'll take any tips that other panelists have for that.
That's great. Hire slow, fire fast, right?
My quick one is hire people who are better than you, and it sounds so weird because you're like, well, won't you take my job? I'll tell you right now, I have a bunch of teachers all over Orange County who are better artists than me teaching my classes, and I get a whole bunch of mine and say, that's part of Art and Soul, she's part of Art and Soul, and she's literally a better artist than me, and it's cool, I get to actually learn from them also, so hire better than me.
I think testing people's competency before they hire. I went out to dinner with a guy and we were looking to hire him, and he was very impressive with how talkative he was. And then we got him on a job site, and I mean, it just absolutely tanked our reputation with the client. And so I would say I started testing people as if I was interested in hiring them, and I have great stories of people where you're they would tell me how great a schedule that they were. They'd be like, all right, I'm going to set you in front of this laptop, and you're going to build a schedule for me. And it was I don't really do that normally. Somebody does. You find really quickly if you test the thing that you're hiring for. So I would say test their abilities.
And that's so awkward, right? In the beginning, you're like, oh, I trust you. You trust me. I'm sure you're good. I'm good. We're good. But in that process in the beginning, that's such an uncomfortable moment where you're like, thank you. Show me right now in real time. And you're like, oh, that's such a valuable lesson.
Yeah, I mean, great for a question that's I can go into my whole TED talk on I love the hiring question. I think it's super nuanced. I think it's hard to get template answers. It depends on the size of the company. And we'll do project work for massive companies, and it's consultants that are 30-minute interviews with the guys who have been there for 2 years. Or we'll do executive search, which is everyone and their mother and crazy dinners and all this stuff, which makes sense. So I don't know. I think I use this analogy, but it's the dating analogy and the hiring analogy. I would say is a really good one to and kind of know you're in that, because that allows the nuance to be if someone gave you dating advice, it's hard to template that. So there are some people who jump into relationships really quickly and then they'll fire they'll break up with them really quickly. If some people are acting like they need to marry this person on the first date, and so that's not going to go well. But using that sort of idea, although inappropriate, I'm sure in 2026, it really helps create a mindset of if you're hiring a really critical person, then treat that in a different way. But also don't go with me, because it also isn't a marriage, if that makes sense, right? And then sometimes there's going to be seasons where it's in a dating period, let's say, and if those expectations are set up front, and the analogy breaks down at a certain point based on my belief systems and everything. But it's if you're just I just need this person for 18 months to get me from here to here, and then if they leave, that's fine, and then treat it like that. And everyone's either profitable or not profitable. A big tip from someone who's actually in the industry, nonstop, is ask for referrals. It's my go-to thing to tell people when I'm don't pay for us. There's lots of other ways to solve this problem. And one of the best things I see companies that give really high incentive referral programs. So if you're going to pay for an agency, or you're going to pay opportunity costs of having an internal recruiter or having people that make, you look at these interviews and it's there's $600 an hour on the table for these like really crappy interviews. It's like, just tell people, hey, I'm gonna be $5,000. If you can find me someone and they last for 6 months and tier it out over $1,000 a month or something, or you can always do an outsource for the service, and there's plenty of services that'll do that for you. But that's my like sort of, if I can give you quick answers to those two things, but it's really nuanced, and it's the like I have hired recruiting companies that specialize in hiring recruiting salespeople for us, if that makes sense. So it's like, just because I'm in it doesn't mean I have it all figured out, usually because it's niche. I'm not talking to business development, client-facing technology salespeople all day, every day. I'm too busy doing my job, and that's what our clients are, where they're like, I'm too busy doing my job, but I'm not doing that full time. And then for salespeople, like real quick, is that one of the parts, the subtext of the question is client-facing?
Yes.
That's super hard. That's like across the board. We get more and more sales jobs in the last 6 to 12 months. I think it's a generational thing. I think it's a post-COVID thing. I don't know what it is. I think that people who, like, whatever's happened over the last 30 years, I think we're just butting up against society where that skill set or that emotional intelligence or that street smart or that, I would say also that drive, there's a lot of like nihilism in younger people where they like don't want to be like, dude, give me all commissions. It's like very stable, security. So that's like a really tough position for me to find. It's my biggest bottleneck is all the sales coming through me. It's hard for me to find someone.
That's great. Yeah, what's your name and what's your business?
My name is Mary, and I run a refugee resettlement services nonprofit organization.
Cool.
So my question is also about hiring, and have any of you found that there are certain roles at your companies or organizations that have high turnover, and maybe in a particular area of your business, it tends to be an area where people burn out quickly or get a lot of skill set, and then suddenly they're ready to do the next greatest thing. And what advice would you have of getting out of a cycle of kind of rotating door when it comes to hiring?
Well, the bakery setting has a ton of turnover, just because we're a part-time positions, so people are not usually looking to stay there forever. It's not their forever job. It's a lot of, college jobs or whatever. And it is a rotating door. We do hiring probably every 6 months or so to gear up for seasonal, bursts in business. For me, I think that the biggest thing that has kept people probably longer than they maybe would have stayed is that they believe in the vision and the mission of the bakery, and we've made it much bigger than just selling cinnamon rolls or muffins to people that walk through the door. It's about making an impact on our community, and a lot of my employees believe in that so much that maybe they stay longer than they would have before, just because they like that. And I think for a nonprofit, that's a huge thing too. If they believe in the purpose, maybe they would stay longer. But I also think that on the baker side of this, I do hire, a lot of apprentices that are fresh out of school looking to build their skill set. And if I'm doing my job as a mentor right, they should go on to do the next thing.
Yeah.
That sucks for me because they get really good and I'm like, oh, it's good. But that means that I'm doing a good job training them. So that part I just expect there to be a bit of turnover. A lot of bakers, what they want to do is start their own business. And I think probably for a nonprofit, they have an idea that they want to go start. So you kind of just have to reframe it that you're training them up well to go and do well somewhere else. That's what I did with the previous bakery I worked for. I built up my skills and then I went and started my own thing. And I think bakers should go start their own thing. So I think just reframing it as a mentorship and building them up well, getting them to a place where they can do your job better than you can do it, and then either promoting them to do that in your business and saying, you know what, you take over what I've been doing, you do it better than me, or trying to reframe it in my own head if I set them up well for success somewhere else. That doesn't help with the hiring piece of it, so I don't have good advice on that, but just the perspective has been helpful for me because we do have a rotating door at the bakery constantly.
That's great, Maddie, appreciate that.
I think people leave organizations for two reasons. One is the leader doesn't know where the organization is going, and number two, the leader doesn't communicate where he thinks the employee is going. And so I think if you don't have direction, people are just gonna, it's like a boat without a runner. They're just gonna be like, is this boat going anywhere? I'm gonna find another boat that's gonna go somewhere. So I think as I try to get better at communicating like the potential that I see in other people and say like, hey, I believe in you and I think you can do great things and here's where I see you going. And I think a lot of people, they might not necessarily have direction in their life, and to hear that assurance from somebody else of like, hey, they believe in me, they see a future for me here. It's not just you're a cog in the wheel and then you're dispensable when your service is through. I think, communicate the vision you see in those people, and then also communicate the vision of like, hey, here's where we're going. I watched this organization for many years, and it's always like, this is where we're going. That's the mountain that we're going to summit, and here's how we're getting there, and I'm taking all of you with me. And some people, they jump off the mountain, so to speak. But I think if you can have that compelling vision, people are going to, especially for an organization like yours with refugee displacement, is that what? Like that is something that you are going to be a magnet for people that believe in that vision. And if you can communicate that vision well, and then if you can communicate the potential that you see in people with you, I mean, you're not going to have to overpay them for that vision. They're there for the vision, right? So
That's great.
Culture. So culture in 2020, we call it the Great Resignation. We lost 15 of our top employees within 6 months to a space startup company here in Long Beach. So that we had to sit down at the table and figure that out. And one of those things was culture and building a new team. And learning how to do that and creating that, and I think we were successful in it. We got to a point where I told my leadership staff was, if the person is here longer than 90 days, they've been here they haven't left. So if they make it through the first 90 days, they're a fit. We have a very strong culture and understanding of what the expectations are and how we work as a team. So it becomes very evident very quickly for people that don't fit into that culture or don't want to join that culture. So they usually end up leaving by themselves just based on that.
Cautious to give a prescription when doctors are asking what follow-up questions to the physicians, and they're just being contextualized. But like, if you can, even if you have to pay them, try and get honest answers from the people that have left, because you're going to pick up a pattern recognition. You can really plot it out, and there will probably be trends. And sometimes it's money, and sometimes it's influence, sometimes it's burnout. So maybe you figure it out with your clients and lower the burden. But like, there will be a pattern that's super nuanced to that scenario probably.
That's a great answer. I'll follow up on that because I've worked with a couple companies that like, everyone keeps leaving. No one fills out the exit survey. How have do you pay them, or what does that look like?
I mean, I'm one of those align incentives don't always pull off of goodwill. So like, is it worth it? Like, it's free market economy. Is it worth it for you to pay them X amount to get an honest answer? Try that. So maybe they'll give it to you out of the goodness of their heart, which is great. And usually it's just hard to get people's time. But we'll give you a $100 gift card. Like, it's a great idea. That it's that valuable, and like people usually show up for those kinds of things, and you have to be like, dude, you gotta hit me hard because it's more costly for the time and energy and opportunity cost of that treadmill. But yeah, I mean,
it's great. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, what's your name and what's your business?
Chris Medoff. I use nature and sunlight to design soul-filled homes.
Sorry, can you one more time say those words?
I use nature and sunlight to design soul-filled homes.
Wow, that's nice. He uses nature and sunlight to design soul-filled homes. That's good.
That was a workshop, so
Yeah, Great job.
So, what is your #1 lead generator for marketing rhythm that brings you customers?
Great question. He asked, what's your #1 lead generator or marketing strategy that has worked?
For our industry, it's very relational, so it's reputation based. Almost all of the business comes in through referrals. or outside of that, cold calls. We did have a program when I started really early on. It was super effective, which is like a well-compensated referral system. So people that know you and trust you and the work that you've done, like give them a cut of the gross margin of the referral. Again, I'm money motivated. I think most humans are, and I'm showing up for free usually for all of their jobs or their time. So if you give someone a significant cut like you would for a 5 years to something else, you usually get people who show up a lot more, and lots of people just reject it. And go, no, don't pay me. But by you offering the money, I think it shares a heart posture of like how significant that help will be.
It's great.
For us, it's social media.
I follow you on Instagram, and I love your Instagram. I'm hearting all those, like, show me that cinnamon roll.
Sarah?
Yes. So yeah, that's great.
I'm still stuck on the soul-filled home. I'm just like thinking about that. I want to build a soul-filled home.
You know, actually you have one client. Your lead gen, it just started working just now.
I'm thinking we should demolish that and hire you to build a soul-filled home.
Yeah. Definitely work backwards on that one.
Keep it
Yeah.
on schedule.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I started making, so like construction scheduling, people kind of glaze over when you say, yeah, I'm a construction scheduler, and on the surface it's very boring, but it's very technical, and there's not a lot of people that do it, so I was like, I'm just going to start building really crummy YouTube videos of like how to build construction schedules, and very cheap, and you can go online and you can see them, and they're terrible, but I would have the most random people reach out in desperation of like, I need to build a construction schedule. And like the market for construction scheduling is not great English speakers trying to do training videos. So I'm like, I'm not even a great English speaker, but I'll do it, you know? And people would find me, and I kept trying to, I would look at like the search engine, kind of like how many searches are going towards that one thing, and I'll do like a more clearly English-speaking version of that one thing. And I would get random calls from people. Like a guy was in his hospital bed that like found my YouTube video, and he runs all the projects for the state of New Mexico. And he's like, I want you to manage our project for the state of New Mexico. And it's like, literally, it was a 5-minute video that I made on YouTube that he found, and that led to, me doing all the work for the state of New Mexico. So.
That's cool.
I have one quick thing. In my first year, I just said yes to everything, and I think also generosity. So I can't tell you how many times like I get hit up for, can you please donate this, volunteer here. And at the beginning, I'm like, well, how am I out of business if I'm just like giving everything away? But those people always come back and they remember that you took care of them, or you gave them, we do trial classes at the studio. Hey, come in and try a class. And they come back awesome, and usually they do. If they don't, that's okay too, but they remember that generous spirit. I think that's really important, especially at the beginning.
And I know I'm not on the panel, so sorry about this. But for me, I just want to share something that was so transformative, truly, doubled my revenue, is that at the end of my workshops, I have a service-based business. I just had a Google form, right? And it was like, how was the workshop? Did you learn something? And we would share it with the Fortune 500 teams and say, this went well. The question we added is, do you know someone who would benefit from this workshop? That one question, this is not a joke, doubled my business. Because like, oh yeah, my friend works at, Workday, my friend works at Google. And then my team would follow up right away with them, ask to make the connection. So finding out where you do a good referral is so specific too, because all of us are like, somebody talk about me willy-nilly, but that intentionality is really important. Yeah.
My name is Michael. I run Blackbox. Have you ever had a plateau push you into the space of like considering closing your doors, just close the shop at all? If so, what stopped you from doing that? And then what advice would you give yourself in that moment to continue to push?
Ooh, that's good. Dark night of the soul. Yeah, that's great. When have you been like, nah, this ain't it? Yeah, and how'd you recover?
No.
Oh, no?
No.
Yeah. Pat is so stable. He's doing That is hilarious.
Yes, for sure I have.
Yes.
Yes, I think this is going to be so overwhelming, and every so often it's like, so what if I quit it all? Like everything.
Totally.
Everything from here to there, just done.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been at that spot and looked at everything, and I for real, brought it to my arena group, those of you guys who are in it know, and I was panicking, and I was just really burnt out, and I told them everything, like, just was super honest, and they all said, do not do that. And it was just, I think just being real about it and saying like, hey, this is where I'm at, really, really helped me, and bringing it to people that I trust and asking them actually, like, would you close your doors? Would you? I don't know, ask people that you trust, and they'll tell you straight up, you know, like, yeah, actually, you should move on. But just leaning on people that you trust to tell you the truth about what you should do, and then do that.
Yeah, it's good. Pat changed his mind.
I think we actually said stop cleaning your toilets. That's
Yeah, no, that was my first breakdown. This is my second. We're there for that.
I'll double down on the arena and bringing that to the arena and getting, your peers' opinions on that. For me, yeah, definitely wanted to burn it all down, and for various reasons, but got through it and transitioning now. So long road, but your peers are going to be important.
I thought that at the table listening to Luke's slideshow, and it was like, dude. I can't be the only one where I'm like, dude, I want the river, I'm the river. There's kinetic energy, and I'm like, I gotta rebuild the whole thing. I was like, I would disappoint this person, and I'd have to resign. But no, I think my wife gave me really good counsel. Luke brought up my counsel, spouse counsel. You're referencing the same thing, whether it's a friend or a trusted mentor, but like people can see into your life better than you can. And I was complaining to her about like just a really crappy season, I think like 6 months ago or something. And she had really good counsel where she was like, this is the game. Like, what did you think starting your business would look like? And it was like a challenging thought where I'm like, well, it would look like we're traveling in Italy and we're doing all this. And like, there's these other people, and I just tell them, this is how I do my job. And they go do it. They're all working independently with my business owners that they're not. But I think that was really humbling for me to have the epiphany of like, you're in the boxing ring. Again, capitalism and free market economy is like, you don't get a day off. Like, you can do that, but there's a cost. But like, the punches and the nuances and the adjustments you're making, they're all like in a net positive experience. So I've definitely had that for sure. And then you just have to take those really, really dark days and be like, this is what I signed up for. Like, that's the forging of the fire, sanctification, crazy journey that you wanted years ago to start or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, you're getting punched, but getting back up is what you signed for, and it'll separate you from the people that don't get back up.
And being business owners, we have very unique complaints, right? And concerns that a lot of our friends just don't get, right? Like I'm at dinner tables and it's like everyone is in corporate or a teacher or a normal job, and I'm like, what's crazy? Everything. And they're like, you could have a job. And I'm like, oh wait, but I love the work that I get to do. And having the right complaints in the right rooms with the right people is a very specific and important part of what we get to do. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I would say that, owning a bakery sounds like a Hallmark movie until your alarm goes off at 2 a.m. Oh, this is crazy. But for me, I would think if I didn't do this, what would I do? And it would be, going back into working for someone else, making their recipes, not getting to be as creative as I get to be now, and that made me sad. And I'd be like, okay, get up at 2 a.m., let's do it.
I have one more thing, it's a job. Right? I always remind myself, I'm like, oh, this, sounds so amazing, we're entrepreneurs, or at the end of the day, it's paying your bills. Do you want your bills paid? Okay, then just keep it up. It's a job.
So true. So true. All right, I'm going to wrap us here. Will you guys give it up for this incredible panel? You guys can go back to your seats.